have an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. Let's go. I'm just telling you to fight for your dreams, but it's not what it seems. Man, it's hard to be seen when everybody wants to be king. Yeah, they all want to ring. Yeah, we all want to be free.
2 weeks until Detroit Lions training camp. 2 weeks until we get legit information about our football team as we take this 2023 NFL season and continue to ride that roller coaster all the way up to the very top. And you know it's coming back because Herm is going to be back here making his return after the lull period. He'll be on at 1:30, and we're going to talk a lot of topics regarding training camp and our Detroit Lions. So I'm real excited to have Herman Moore back on and getting this thing back going for Lions Nation Unite, in which we're taking it to the next level. Cannot wait to get into that and what this channel has done for Detroit Lions content. Time to take it up a notch, and that's what we're going to do in this bad boy. We got P Blues in the building, 9 Drinks in the building, Chrome, Jamie Ward, my man, Raw Podcast, William Sprague, and Tina Marie Passarelli. So I think everybody coming in, whether you're on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, we're going to get into it. We're going to do QA for the first 30 minutes. When Herm gets in, we're going to get into the real business. So we're going to do the hashtag Lions, hashtag LNU right meow, so we can get your questions in there. And when he gets in, we'll take questions as well. But if you got anything, do it right now. Throw it in the comment section as we will get to talk. And what's up, Lisa? Thank you for coming in this building. Same time with CT Squad. We're going to get into Jahmyr Gibbs signed the deal with the Detroit Lions. He is now under contract. We only got one player left in Brian Branch, who's not on contract, and I suspect he'll be signed any day, anytime. We got 2 weeks for training camp. It's going to happen, folks. The rookie deals are different than what used to be back in the days of Matthew Stafford and Sam Bradford. Now it is much easier to get these guys under contract, but it's good to know that Jahmyr Gibbs is coming and will be good to go for training camp. And check out Raw Detroit's video on Jahmyr Gibbs. He fully expects this guy to be explosive. He played running back at an extremely high level, very good at looking at talent. He looked at Jahmyr Gibbs when he was with Alabama and with Georgia Tech. So go ahead and take a look at all that. Very good video. Chilling and my people. Appreciate it. Lions 1960 in the building. I would like to ask Herman Moore, how many wins do the Lions have this season? Tina Marina, we will definitely ask him that question. Just remind me when he gets on, after I ask him some normal questions, just go ahead and re-ask this so I don't forget it. I'll find it and definitely ask him that's what you wanted to talk to him about, and he will get his record prediction for our beloved Detroit Lions. Lions 1960 in the building. Very good here. But how excited are you for Lions training camp? 1 being not excited at all, 10 being extremely excited. I'm going to go with 9 here. I haven't been this excited in a very, very long time for Lions training camp. I haven't been this excited since 2011. Just because of the talent is there, the depth is there. I'm really looking forward to see how the secondary does for the Detroit Lions against the Lions wide receivers. That's one of the main questions I'm asking Herm today, is about the Lions secondary, is about what they're going to be doing to that next level in training camp. The ability to see Lions great offense versus Lions new secondary is going to be freaking awesome. I had the Lions selecting Brian Branch at 18. Feel like he was wanted first round signing bonus. Lisa, you're 100%, and you're absolutely correct. That's probably what it is about, because Brian Branch is such an elite talent that he probably assumed he's going in the round one, is like we all did. Speaking of running back, we're loaded. I'm excited to see how the battle is 4 and 5 running back slot shakes out. I agree with you. Mo Ibrahim, Jasa Kabinda, and Jahmyr Jefferson. Who is going to take one of those spots? I got Mo Ibrahim. That's who I have winning the battle there. Why? Because he's undrafted, he's cheap, and he's good. He's the bowling ball, and I think that makes a lot of sense there. Jasa Kabinda, I feel like his time in Detroit at some point should be coming to an end, as well as when it comes to Jahmyr Jefferson, I'm just not sure that he can break the lineup, but that's who I got. Maybe I'm completely different. Hashtag smell my finger. What do you think about Covington? I don't know, and that's a player I'm going to watch because I don't know what to think about him. Could he be another John Kaminsky that comes in here, makes it an impact, or can he be a player who doesn't really do a whole lot of anything for the Lions? So that's going to be a good one to watch in training camp. Another keen eye on one of these guys whom we really don't know. So I'm going to put I don't know 9 drinks. Someone I'll be watching at training camp. Someone that's I'm going to be staring at. I want to see how he performs. We have too many good tight ends to keep a fullback. Jack Reeves, I 100% agree with you. Absolutely, fully. I think that we just have too many. And it doesn't make sense to keep Jasa Kabinda. Herman Moore will be on the podcast in 24 minutes. He's going to get on, and we're going to talk Q&A with him. We're going to talk Lions training camp and camp battles, what he thinks as he played at extremely high level, as he's one of the best receivers to ever play the game, as well as he's very in tune with the Lions organization and the players at B. So just get ready for that. In 24 minutes, he'll be on. We'll talk normal questions, and we'll do QA. As people get on here slowly, I'm going to keep reiterating that, so don't get annoyed. It's just because some of the people would like to know as soon as they get on. If you got any more questions, let me know. Hashtag Lions, hashtag LNU. We're starting this one out quick because I want to make sure that we get our Q&A session in, and then we get Herm and his session in about Lions training camp so we get an idea of what he thinks is going to take place with his expertise, with the Lions organization, as well as being a absolute stud wide receiver for the Lions, Hall of Famer in my opinion, all of that stuff. Just doing my insulin shot. I'm with you. I need to do an insulin shot, even though I don't have no issue. Anthony, what's going on, Ant-Man? In the building, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to Aurora Lions UK. That's part of Lions Nation Unite. He is a fantastic content creator, my favorite in the building. Make sure you get that thing going. What is your prediction for this year's season, Tina Marie? I'm going to go with the Lions going 11 wins. I think that is something they should obtain. I think they can go from 9 to 11. The schedule is tough, specifically at the beginning, but I think the Lions are a tough football team. I expect them to win the NFC North. I think that they should be the NFC North champions this year. If not this year, when is it going to happen? So they need to do it this year. I expect them to win the home playoff game, whoever they're facing, whatever wild card team comes in. I expect the Detroit Lions to win that game. And I think we should have that expectations. Why? Because the roster is legit. They have players on offense and defense and special teams that are dogs. They got the players. They got the coaching staff in place. They should be making that run, and we should expect that to be the case. I absolutely fully expect. Gibbs needs to be the weapon everywhere, but start focusing on wide receiver. He needs to be a weapon, and I agree with you, and he's going to be the weapon. If you've seen OTAs and minicamp, he has been that weapon. He's absolutely amazing. And he's going to get it done all over the field. And I fully expect in training camp him to be the guy that's going to make people say, okay, that's why we drafted this guy with the 12th pick in the 2023 NFL draft. He's going to be really good. And check out Raw's podcast video on him, and I concur with him fully. He is a steal, and he is going to be – I love how he compared him to a healthy DeAndre Swift with the ability of Jahmyr Best. And if you watch Jahmyr Best, that guy was freakish ability. He can hit the hole and make a play beyond plays. I said the Lions are going to win 14 games or lose only 3. Tina Marie, that would be absolutely outstanding. If they can do something like that, that would be the number 1 seed in the NFC. If they did that, that means they would have a bye week and host all playoff games in Detroit. It's going to be a tough task when you got the 49ers, Philadelphia Eagles. I think they're really good football teams. I think they're going to probably win their divisions, and they're going to have a good record as well. Very, very good. Ant-Man, Says, just got home and chilling. Listen to my favorite Lions content creator. Hope that you are as well. I appreciate you. And that's why everyone should watch him. He knows exactly what he's talking about. This guy is an absolute monster. Let's see. I love Kabenda, but primary, remember his drops. I like Kabenda too, and I know the coaching staff loves him, but a best ability is availability and what they bring to a football team. He was a little bit issues with staying healthy last year, as well as I don't know what he can bring that's different from Mo Ibrahim and what is different from a Shane Zylstra and the tight ends that we got. I don't know if I don't think he's better than those guys. I think you can utilize those two players a little bit more. So I'd rather throw a roster spot to one of those guys than him personally. But that's my opinion. You may differ. The coaching staff may differ. Brad Holmes may differ. We all have our opinions, and that's just the way it rolls. Again, Herman Moore will be on here in about 19 minutes, whatever it is. Jump on, talk Detroit Lions. I cannot wait to hear what he's got to say about training camp and what he's got going on here. He says, I cannot wait to see David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs still and whatever his name play. I cannot wait to watch David Montgomery, the guy whom we don't talk about enough. David Montgomery is going to be running the football quite a bit with the Detroit Lions, and I think that's important to understand. We did it a lot with Jamal Williams. I think he's better than Jamal Williams. From the running back standpoint, I think he's better with those 1 to 2, 3 yards. I think he break tackles, and that's really important for our Detroit Lions. And you're right. I cannot wait to watch him pound the rock in the middle. Jack Reeves, 11 to 12 wins with defensive tackle Backel coming in the often injured defensive tackle Levi Wuzurika. Do you think they will give him the benefit or pup on IR full healthy if he looks to be able to play during the camp? I think they're going to give him a chance to start camp. Maybe 10 days. That's what I got. If he's not making any sort of progress, I personally believe they'll release him with an injury settlement. There's no reason to put him on if he cannot make any sort of recovery 10 days into training camp, what is the point to put him on the PUP list? What is the point to keep this guy in the roster when we're talking about a injury that is substantial to a fusion to the spine? This is something that there is a limit to. You're not going to get past the mobility of a fusion. It is your spine is fused. So if you can't do any sort of progress in the first 10 days, my suggestion was go ahead and release him and find somebody else, whether it be someone another team releases or when they cut down to 53, whatever. That's my personal opinion. I would love for him to come in and make a substantial gain from the health standpoint. I just don't know if that's going to be the case. A 5.5 or 4.5 sacks over and under. I'm going to go under with the Lee McNeil. I still think he's primarily more of the run stuffer. For him to get that type of sacks, I think it's be quite difficult. He's still going to get a lot of pressure from the offensive linemen because we don't have a game-changing defensive tackle like an Aaron Donald, like a Williams, like a Sue back at his prime, those type of guys that get it done. So I think it's going to be quite difficult for him. I saw Hooker was a fumble machine last year. What we've done to help that out? Hendon Hooker, I don't really believe he's a fumble machine. I think he's had a little bit of fumbles, but Hendon Hooker is going to be sitting in the back. He's not even going to be playing this year unless there's an injury. So that's something that you don't even have to worry about unless Jared Goff gets injured. You don't have to worry about it. So they'll work on that in training camp. Monty got wrecked by the rubber band. Let's see. Jared Goff needs to be healthy the whole season and throw the ball on time. And he said it's standing there. He's going to do that. Look, Jared Goff is a patient quarterback. Is he the greatest quarterback in the NFL? No. Is he the worst quarterback in the NFL? No. But he's a veteran quarterback that's like an Alex Smith that's going to pick apart defense. Has got time in the pocket. We got a top 3 offensive line in the NFL with Halapoulivaati Vaitai, who is healthy and should be started at the right guard position at the beginning of training camp, whom Lomas Brown, friend of the podcast, believes is when he was healthy 2 years ago, he was the best offensive lineman on the team. And we're talking about a Hall of Fame offensive lineman who knows talent. So if we're good with the offensive line, Jared Goff will stand there and he'll pick apart. Don't want to see him run around. You don't want to see him do his turnaround and swindle move. That's the one thing you don't want to see, but I'm not worried with Jared Goff, in all honesty. Like the stream, Lions Rumbles 100%. Go ahead and like that stream. If we get to 100 likes, we'll definitely do a ultra combo. This combo breaker is not an ultra combo, but it's pretty good. Prelude to the ultra combo. And if you're new to the channel, this is what you get with an ultra combo. Ultra combo! Goff is better than most think. I think he is, but I think a lot of people just think he's a garbage quarterback. I don't think that at all. I think that's ridiculous. I don't think he is a window licker. I don't think he drinks paint. I don't think he is Patrick Mahomes. I think he's a good quarterback. He had top 10 stats last year. Got to give him his props. I don't know. I think Aleem trimmed down because he was asked to put more pressure on the quarterback. Yeah, he did trim down, but it's yet to be seen. 4.5 sacks, though, for him. It just seems a little bit difficult, so I'll still take the under. When you come back live, at some point, Hooker had 22 fumbles in 2 years at Tennessee. Yeah, but is he playing this year? Is that big of a deal? No, I'm not too worried about it. He's a guy who's not going to be playing this year unless there is a significant injury to Jared Goff. Hell, you may completely be redshirted this year. Jared Goff had fumble issues as well. It wasn't looking bad last year. Won't look bad. So I'm not going to worry about it at all when it comes to Hendon Hooker. That's honestly the last person I'm worried about because he's not going to be playing this year unless there's an injury. So really don't need to worry about it. If there's an injury, okay, well, we'll talk about it at that point, but I don't expect him to play at all this year unless we're extremely ahead in a game and they just want to give him a snap or two and you'd be handing the football off anyways, or there's a significant injury to Jared Goff and then that sucks. But I don't see him playing. Saw Aleem in a video this morning. He looks amazing. I know he does look amazing. He trimmed down, and that's really good. I can't wait to watch him in training camp. I watch this whole defensive line come together. He's a very good player. He's a great third-round pick for the Lions a couple years ago. Love him. With $23 million in cap space, do you think we are saving the cap or re-signing guard Jonah Jackson and possibly players like cornerback C.J. Gardner-Johnson? Jonah Jackson, I could see the Lions re-signing for sure, 100%, because his contract is coming up. He is a player who is integral to the offensive line. He is young. We drafted him. Makes a lot of sense. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's a little bit different. C.J. Gardner-Johnson reminds me of Brian Branch, whom the Lions drafted this year. They're very similar. They could play all over the defense. Ball hawk. I think he is the future, so I don't think they're going to sign C.J. Gardner-Johnson, especially. We just signed him in free agency to a one-year deal, so no, I don't see that happening. I think Aleem plays at the 3-tech much more. Agreed lines, Aleem should be a lot quicker. He should be quicker. Should be quicker with that liquor. He should be, but 4.5 sacks, still think it's a little bit difficult from my view. How do you think the defense is going to play out this year? I expect the Lions defense to play at around 16. Take a significant jump. They were playing much better the second half of the season. I think with the upgrades to the secondary, huge upgrades, massive upgrades, is going to give them a lot of turnovers. And getting Jack Campbell, he'll progress slowly each game and become a good linebacker for the Detroit Lions. It does depend on Alex Anzalone. He's going to be the first half Alex Anzalone or the second half. If he's the second half, the Lions defense could even be better, right? Because he was playing really good the second half of the season last year. If he's more of the first half, we may have a little bit of issues, but I think they take a significant jump. I do, and I think that's good. If the Lions defense goes to 16, their offense is what I think is a top 2 offense, Lions definitely making the playoffs. I mean, there'll be times where they'll blow teams out. If Martin can demand double teams, D-line can be amazing 100%. If he demands the double teams, especially Broderick Martin, a rookie, that's going to give more time for Aiden Hutchinson and Romeo Aquar and whoever else is on the opposite there. The cap space, the trade deadline for the first time forever. Are we buying this year? I do think that we could be buyers this year, and I think the trade deadline is what they wait for. If the Lions are really having a good season and there is a player from a bad team that they think that they can acquire can help the Lions win a playoff game this year, I could see them doing it for sure. They've been active on the trade deadline, just been sellers. I think this year they could be a buyer. Believe C.J. Gardner-Johnson stays if he produces. Contract has to be right. Contract has to be right. It does. Would I like him to stay? I think, I for sure it'd be interesting, how they look at Tracy Walker in that case, because if you're going to keep CJ Gardner-Johnson, then you'd think Tracy Walker would be the odd man out, which I'm fine with. I'm not a big Tracy Walker fan. I like Kirby Joseph, CJ Gardner-Johnson, and Brian Branch the long term over Tracy Walker. I'm not saying Tracy Walker bad at all. I think he's good, but I think the long term, those guys are a little more talented, and it makes more sense to me. Let me know in the comment section. Who do you like more, Tracy Walker, or do you like players such as Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, or CJ Gardner-Johnson a little bit more? I personally like CJ, but he's probably going to demand a big, giant contract too. If he has another season like he did last year here in Detroit, he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid like Jesse Bates. Okay, he's going to get paid like a top safety in the NFL. I don't know if that's something that the Lions could do, in which I would be fine for. I love CJ Gardner-Johnson. I have no problem. But then you would have to look at Tracy Walker. What? Because you can't just sign everybody, right? We can't be New Orleans Saints here. That's not how we operate as an organization, is just sign every single player to mad contracts and be fiscally irresponsible for the foreseeable future. And you got to understand, teams like Detroit, we're building through the draft. We supplement our veteran players through players whom we drafted. And Brad Holmes has shown throughout the years that he is a master of the draft. And so I do trust his ability to acquire talent in the draft and replace the free agents whom we do like in Detroit with players whom the Detroit Lions will draft with. And that's something that is really nice for the Lions. Herman Moore is going to be on here in about 9 minutes. We're going to get to him. So if you're ready to hear from one of the greatest of all time to wear a Honolulu blue and silver, who is very close to the operations of Detroit, get ready for that. We're going to be talking quite a bit of fun there. But right now, until he gets on, we're going to do some QA. Do you know the dates of training camp will be there? I don't know when I'll be there. Training camp starts on the 29th. I'm still waiting on the exact dates for me. And then when I get the exact dates, I'll definitely let everybody know. It'll be in a video. It'll be on a stream. I'll definitely let it know. But I expect me to be there quite a bit. Number one scoring offense this year, I think it's a possibility. I'll go top three like CT squad. I still think that the Philadelphia Eagles and I think the Kansas City Chiefs are proved that they can get there, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. It really isn't. Jahmyr Gibbs could break that to where it is one of the best. So top three for sure. I sure hope Aleem can become the game-wrecking tackle we need. What are the odds? I think it's 50-50. I love Aleem McNeil, and no matter what, I want him to stay. But to be like, if he takes it to the next step, I mean, he trimmed down. He's a hard worker. He loves the game. He's got the mentality that you want. So I go to go 50-50. Does anyone know when the next Inside the Den will drop? No, not for me. Don't know. Hope Walker can come back, but I agree with you. He's the odd man out right now. Yeah, I'm fine with Walker this year. Perfectly fine with him. But I think for the future, I mean, especially if you look at Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, those guys are the future at the safety position. Kirby is now. Brian Branch is he's going to be playing all over the defense this year, but I full expect these guys to be the future, right? The guys whom we look forward to down the road. What defensive tackle should we pay attention to be drafted next year? I have not went in the draft yet, Drago. I'll do that starting week 4. I want to see some college games first. We could say stuff right now, but it means absolutely nothing. I've watched so much freaking college throughout the years and through the draft. Anything before a season starts, players whom you think is going to be like a Spencer Rattler, you think it's going to be a top pick, is an undrafted guy. So I want to wait a little bit, watch a couple college games, see a little bit before I jump in there and say anything about that. Week 4 of the NFL season is where I begin that work. I'll definitely get to you. And I'm not going to lie. Being somebody who does this every day, you get tired of the draft prospects after an NFL season. You talk about it so much that it gets a little bit redundant. So I like to take a break. My break is till week 4. So after the NFL draft, I am off the bandwagon until week 4. I know some people, my guys over there, that do it all the time. The NFL draft, I show a lot of love to those guys, but I need a little bit of break. Joseph all day, $15, at least for if he produces. I love Kirby Joseph. Love him. I am all about it. I'm done trying to predict who the villain will be of the draft. Love your work, Mike. Have a great show, buddy. Thank you so much. Herm will be on here in a couple of minutes. When he gets on, we're going to have a good time talking Detroit Lions football. And it's going to be absolutely fun. I can't wait for him to get on here in a couple of minutes, and so we can get his perspective on some of the things for sure. You got CJ over Walker if we can afford it. How about Kirby only being ranked number 1 points higher than Brian Branch and Manning? Little bit of disrespect. Kirby Joseph could be a little bit disrespect, but Brian Branch is really good. Really, really good. I love Kirby Joseph, but Brian Branch is these are two really good players. You know how much I like both of them. Mike, can you and I be friends on Facebook? Hit me up, Tina Marie. Add me as a friend, and I will accept. Can't wait. Which teams might beat us this season? Oh, man, it's so hard to predict. I don't think anybody predicted, maybe somebody did, Carolina beating us, where you have a bad team that plays good and a good team plays bad. It happens. So it's hard to predict like a game like that, but you can see the normal teams like Seattle Seahawks, Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs. I do have the Lions beating Kansas City, but you can obviously see them bidding. I don't think the Lions go 6-0 in the division. Maybe the Bears beat the Lions at home, at their home, not our home. So at Soldier Field. That's why I got the Lions winning 11 games this year. It just happens. Kansas City Chiefs lose games. Philadelphia Eagles lose team games. Hell, the Patriots went 16-0 and they lost the Super Bowl. It just happens. So it's really hard to predict. Once, like we see, after a couple weeks of the NFL season, you get a good idea of what teams have, their strengths and their weaknesses. It's really difficult before a season starts to really just to say, okay, this is what they're good at, this is what they're not good at, until you see it on the field. That's my honest opinion. But I definitely do predictions, even though it's way too early and all that stuff. That's what I do. You can search me, Tina Marie, Micro Mike, or Mike Kimber. I'm on there. I got a picture like this, so you can go ahead and see me and you'll find me. I think Walker was the best safety, but Brad Holmes has improved the roster over the years, and Walker will be upgraded. Yeah, I agree with you, Lisa, 100%. Again, it's not a knock against Tracy Walker at all. I just think they've upgraded that position so well. It's hard. Like, Brian Branch is the best safety in this last year's draft, and for him to fall the second round is ridiculous. He should have been a top 10 pick or at least top 15 pick for sure. Okay, fell Lions. It's just Lions see it. They fell. I'm going to draft it. Kirby Joseph is exactly what I've talked about and what other people who scout talked about. A game-changing safety who turns the football over, like gets interceptions like crazy. Tracy Walker's a good safety, but his ceiling to me is not as high as those guys. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson has shown it already. He's a veteran guy that he's a game changer. One of the best safeties right now in the NFL. So you look at it, it's just a plethora of damn good players. And that's what happens. They upgrade a position, and it is what it is. Herman Moore is going to be on here any minute. And as soon as he jumps in, we're going to talk to him about Lions training camp. We're going to talk about him about offense, weapons versus secondaries. Obviously, he was a major weapon on offense, is one of the best receivers ever, going against the upgraded secondary of the Detroit Lions. What is he looking for? Does he expect the defense to gel together a little bit more, at least specifically the secondary? Can't wait to talk about that, get his opinion on it and everything. So he'll be on here in a couple minutes. I'm happy to have him back in the fold. That is my partner in crime, Herman Moore, my man, my boss, partner in crime, talking football and giving his perspective. Because I'm going to be honest, we agree like 95% of everything, but you know, that's why we get along so great. We kind of think alike, but he's definitely has a different perspective of a former player who's been in the business, who's seen it all, done it all. And then me, I'm just a fan who loves talking football, Lions, and scouting and watching player prospects. So I can't wait to do it when he gets on here. Let's see. Tracy Walker is a good backup. I think he's a starter safety. I think he's a starter in the NFL for sure. Just when you have such a talent as this, it's quite difficult. It is. She says she can't find me. Let me see if I can find you, and I'll just go ahead and add you to there. And we can do that. Let me see if I can find you really quick. So we'll get that thing going, but keep asking questions until he gets on. When he gets on, we will go to him, and he'll take some Q&A from you guys as well. And that is going to be amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right. I added you. You can go ahead and now be good to go there. Let's see. Stiff comp at the safety suite. Sorry, looking forward to get some players one-on-one on here. Yes. And I am looking forward to that. Yes. I'm looking forward to broadening the audience, not just online. Broadening the audience to a higher level. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be absolutely amazing, because that's what we do on here, is consistently try to take it to the next level, and that's what we're going to be doing here. Watch for James Mitchell to break out. I am watching for James Mitchell because we drafted him last year in the 5th round, 3rd round talent, injured, and now having Sam LaPorta, who's really good, it's going to help out James Mitchell too. And Jared Goff loves to throw it to the tight ends. Absolutely loves to throw it to the tight ends. And James Mitchell is a good tight end. Hopefully he breaks out this year. I'd love to see my man Mitchell getting it done for the Detroit Lions. Really, really do here. Let's see. Starting safety, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, great against the pass, and Walker, great against the run. I do think Tracy Walker will start this year. For sure. He says, I don't see a friend request from you. Well, I don't know what happened there, because I did look like someone like you. Let's see. Training camp right now around the corner. I cannot wait. 2 weeks away from training camp, and we really get to see what this team looks like. Super stoked to get it on there. Super stoked to see this team get on their game and doing what they're going to do. I'm just making sure that they got the link, because he's still not on. So I'll wait for him to get on here, and we'll get it. Let's see. Have to remember, Tracy Walker has not had some opportunities or been in the right situation. Here we go. My man, a partner in crime, legendary wide receiver, Herman Moore. What's going on, Herm?
Hey, not much. How you doing, Mike? How's it going today, buddy?
Oh, training camp's right around the corner. You're back.
Yep.
You excited? You excited to be back?
You know what? I'm excited, and I'm always excited every time we turn this corner and we start to come back and talk about Detroit Lions. I try not to be too over the top about it. I try and make sure that whatever I'm talking about and whatever I'm bringing is through experience. And I know it's about being excited about the draft picks, is excitement around coming off of such a great, successful past season. And then also you had a great win at the end of the year to drive momentum going into the offseason and going into the draft, and then picking up some additional players, picking up some key needs. And you're bringing, Detroit Lions, one of the teams that's bringing back one of the most talented teams, but they also are bringing back more players than most teams from the previous year. So that gives you a running start without having to have that rebuild that we've seen with the Lions over the years. So I'm excited from that standpoint, because we know the players. And then as you start to bring these other additional players to it, you start to see how the puzzle works out, and you see where they fit, and you see which guys are going to have the competition and where the battles will take place. And right now, it's good to hear that the Lions aren't just bringing in players and they're just automatically being given starting positions. There are some players who have to compete. There's players who have to earn their way and earn their position. And because of that, it's going to make for a pretty exciting year.
Talk about that earning your way. You see the Lions, we drafted, we got 2 first-round picks, we got a couple second-round picks. Do you think it really is important for players to earn their spot and not just be given? Like a Jack Campbell, we drafted 18, or Jahmyr Gibbs. These guys got to earn their spot. Obviously, you're a rookie. You've been a veteran. Do you really do agree with that idea? These guys got to earn their spot. I don't care where you're drafted. To be on the field, you got to make sure you get it done first.
Well, it works 2 ways, right? So when you pick up a draft pick early in the draft, or you put them in a position where, you know, they're supposed to make a difference or have an impact that first year, you pick them with a big pick, so they are going to play, right? So you're not going to be some players that you're going to set on the side and maybe they got to earn their position like most of the guys traditionally have to do in camp. They're going to be preparing them to get ready to make contributions. So when you talk about Gibbs and you talk about bringing in a big linebacker, and then you're bringing in a tight end, you're bringing in some other, you know, defensive players who are replacing other defensive secondary players. All of a sudden now you're plugging in players and you're trying to get them ready because you see that they fill a gap. So when you talk about Jack Campbell and you talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, yeah, these are guys that are going to play. I mean, they have a position. I don't see them having to really compete that much. The only way I see them sitting out and not getting the reps is because the coaches are trying to bring them along a certain path. But right now, the Lions are going to come out, and I think they're going to throw everything and every talented player or contributing player that they have to the table. They're going to give them an opportunity to make that difference. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to step back for 1 second. I always say this. You can draft the best players. You can draft the right positions, the right everything. But all the teams are feeling like they made the right picks. Now it's about which coaches are going to prepare those players, which players are going to come in with the right mindset and pick up on those offensive and defensive schemes, which ones are going to get along with their teammates, which teammates are going to be willing to be team players and work with those players to work within the scheme. Because remember, they're there to take somebody's job. And there's these other dynamics that come to play, and we can all be, you know, smiles and giggles when we look at the draft and we look at the excitement about the season. But there is so much that's happening behind the scenes that's going to determine whether or not those players actually succeed, and if they fit, and if they're accepted, and if they can, you know, meet the coaches and the organization's expectations and stay healthy. So everything is kind of not a hypothetical, but it's always fun to be looking at it the way we're looking at it now, and to kind of make these guesses about whether or not this team is going to be a good team and whether or not players are going to actually earn that deserved spot that they were picked at, and all that other good stuff. So, you know, you and I, we're going to have our debates and our battles all year, I'm sure, because I've been listening to the show on the first half hour, and I've heard a lot of people talk about different players and which players they think should be better, especially on the defensive side. Offensively, I think there's still going to be some other battles as well.
Oh, definitely going to be battles. A lot of battles, a lot of fun. That's why you got to subscribe to Lions Nation Unite. We're doing this all year around, Herm. Why should these people subscribe? I think we got a lot of good reasons on here.
One, because this is a place to be. This is a place that the fans, I say this every year, they come in, they can make this channel be what it needs to be. You're doing a tremendous job of serving up content and really being the lead content provider and host of everything that we do. But then also, even this year, I'm bringing out a couple of new things to just kind of, you know, I don't have my hair now, but I'm letting my hair down a little bit. I'm gonna open it up just a little bit more. So there may be some back and forth with myself and some of the fan base, but at the same time, it's all love.
Absolutely all love. And we'll get back to training camp here. Lions, you know, we're booty cheeks a little bit last year in the secondary. What did they do? What? All right. What? So in the offseason, they're like, you know what? We're going to fix this thing. They get C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Cameron Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, Brian Branch, and draft. Really put a lot of talent in that secondary. OTAs and minicamp, Jared Goff struggling a little bit. And there's a good offense. Do you think that this trend continues? Lions defense, you know, these talented players are able to continue to thrive and maybe, you know, lead the way for the Lions this year?
I think you will. There were some really good pickups there. You talk about, like, you know, I look at the secondary, right? So you talk about Joseph, Kirby Joseph. This is a player that came in, made some phenomenal plays, got a lot of respect across the NFL. Tracy Walker, another player that, you know, has made some plays that people are looking at, you know, as being a solid player. But how do you start to share that time, and how do you keep a certain chemistry of players out on the field? I don't think there's ever anything wrong with depth. And I think they've done a really good job of providing a lot of depth at a position that I think there were some concerns because there was youth and there was a unit that hadn't played together for a long time. But Now you start bringing in a mixture of veterans with players who've already understand the system and worked with this coaching staff, but also you start to fill those gaps and those holes. You can rotate players now, and you can bring guys in and apply even more pressure and bring in special packages that the other offensive unit is not going to see it, that coming, and then it's going to be harder to scout. I'll tell you this as a wide receiver, it's really hard to scout a team that has a lot of depth at a certain position, especially if I'm a receiver and there's a lot of depth at the secondary, because there's so many schemes and there's so many players that they can bring in and so many combinations of things that they can do with coverage that can throw you off, because you can't scout everyone. I mean, it's impossible to do that. So you try and scout one or two players and you try and scout systems when you're an offensive unit. But when you get a team that has depth, I think that can also become an asset for a lot of teams.
I look at the Lions last year. We win 9 wins. All right. I think the Lions could progress to get to 11. Tina Marie Passarelli says, how many games do you think the Lions are going to win this season, and how many losses? I don't want to throw that prediction on you, but do you think that the Detroit Lions can improve from 9 wins after all the talent in the draft and free agency?
I think they can. And even though the schedule, it has some challenges in there, but I think in the NFC North, the division gets a little bit easier. It's a little bit more predictable in terms of what you get. And when you're playing certain ones, you understand the weaknesses and the strengths of teams. I don't think anyone's going to catch anyone off guard. So the first and foremost, the Lions have to defend that piece. They have to win the NFC North. They have to go out and play really good football. They have to be dominant in that space. And then as they start to play outside of their division, they got to split their road games. I mean, we always talk about this. As a team, if you can split your road games and win 90% of your home games, then typically you win a division or you get a playoff run. And that's just kind of like setting the bar at a minimum. But there's expectation for this team, and I don't see any barriers right now that keeps them from making it. One, winning the NFC North, but two, having an opportunity at the playoffs. That means they have to win more than they won last year. They got to win at least 1, maybe 2 more games than they did last year to have that postseason play. And I think it's capable and doable. But the durability of this team, how well this offense can continue to play at the level of lights out like we saw them playing last year, you can't carry that over from one year to the next. It doesn't work that way. The Lions are going to have to come out and they have to play this year, and they're going to have to make sure that chemistry of players are working at the same way, that they're getting more out of certain skill position players. They got to expand the passing game to have a little bit more depth downfield. Who's going to take up that role? I don't know. Most of your players are possession style receivers, whether it be in the St. Brown, who's really more of a possessive style receiver, to where you start to get the guys that go down to the middle levels, but no one's really attacking that deep third. And you're not going to have your guy that you expected to do that in the first part of the season. So there's some challenges offensively that I see that I don't know necessarily was addressed because you're swapping out running backs. You're swapping out running backs, but you look at it from a statistical standpoint, you had one guy who had 15 touchdowns, right? So you got to swap that out with an incoming guy in Gibbs, all right? And to say that he automatically is going to make up that piece, I don't think you can go to bank on that. That's still got to be earned.
You talked about lights out. Now, as this NFL season's coming here, Karen Rodgers leaves the NFC North, and he did his dark out retreat. As we prepare for this season, do you think it's vital for you to do a dark retreat, have the lights out?
Man, you guys got to leave that guy alone, man. He's trying to go and hang out in New York, man. He's trying to go hang out at basketball games and just have fun, and I'm going to leave it there. I'll wait till the season starts before I start going in hard on people. Listen, man, sure. I always tell people like this. Let's go to another part of this, right? So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give this one to those that are listening, and I appreciate everyone jumping on the channel. I used to watch epic battles like Deion Sanders would go against Michael Irvin, or he'd go against Jerry Rice, right? You got 2 really good, you got Hall of Famers, you got these great players. Just because one was an All-Pro or Hall of Famer, the other one could win. When you look at the other players we have on the Lions, and you look at players against the other team, they're going to have games where they're not going to match up well. They're going to be games they match up really well, and then players are still not going to be able to shut down or stop the other team, and vice versa. My concern becomes more of will the Lions, when they have the opportunity to dominate, will they dominate? And then when there's opportunity to continue to dominate because they have a lesser opponent, will they become complacent, or will they continue to dominate? That's the character of your team. And then when you are the underdog and when you don't have that ability and you get knocked down, how does that team respond? I mean, I think most of us will say that the Lions will pick up and go after it. But I say, you don't know until you see it. You got some different players in key positions that are going to have to step up to the mindset and the aggressiveness and that dog that we saw the Lions start to develop. They got to adapt that right now and come in with that same mentality. So it's going to be interesting. It's every Lion fan has the right to be as excited as they are. I think the team should be very excited. But speaking as a player and anyone who has done this, it resets. I hate to say that, but it always resets. You have to go in and you have to still play the games.
100%. And we've seen teams that won Super Bowls and they have that hangover. Even though they're an elite team, it just happens, and we've seen it 100 times. We know how important the wide receiver position is. You're a former player, but I want to know your thoughts on the tight end position. We get Sam LaPorta, high tight end in the draft in the second round. We got Brock Wright. We got some players that can get it done. How important is the tight end to our scheme with Jared Goff and what they bring to our offense?
It's an interesting position because you lose Hawkinson, you get Wright, who steps in, and he's doing a fairly decent job of kind of just filling in that gap. I think the Lions did a really good job offensively, calling plays that really maximized what he could bring. They didn't ask him or make it to where he had to make or break the offensive output or keep the chains moving. But when you look at LaPorta, and I had an opportunity to scout him and look at a lot of his film, I see something that may be a little bit of a surprise. I think he may be a little bit of a surprise because he has the physical attributes of a tight end, but he plays almost like what we liked in Hawkinson, and that was he had that receiverist type ability, right? He could go in, he could work down the field, he could work off the line. I see him a lot in the play action and I think the reason why the Lions really looked at LaPorta was, he did a lot in college off of the play action, and he did a lot on backside tight end plays or screens back to the tight end. And the Lions are going to have so much attention placed on the running game that I think he's going to be able to sneak out and get out in the backside of plays. He's going to be able to be a part of the play action that the Lions have effectively started to master to make some really impactful plays for the offense. And I like his ability after he catches the ball, how he tries to make other things happen as a runner. And so when you get that, you get an aggressive offense. We know we're going to have that in the running game. We already know we have that in guys like St. Brown and Raymond and those guys. So I think that as they continue to move, this is going to be a team that you're going to have to tackle their skilled players.
100%. It's just a nightmare, I think, for defenses. This offense was really good last year. I think it's going to be better this year. Now, this is one reasons why y'all need to subscribe to the channel. Because Tina Maria says, Herman, my question to you is there any way I can get signed football by you and put it in my collection of Detroit Lions memorabilia? We're going to be doing some giveaways here soon on Lions Nation Unite. Tell the folks why they should subscribe because of these giveaways coming up.
Oh, definitely should subscribe. So there's going to be a new thing that I'll be doing this season. I won't let too much of it out of the bag, but you're going to have to subscribe. You're going to need to be a member and also, follow and like things that we do, because I'm going into my treasure chest of things. I actually found and forgot that I had multiple storage units, not one, multiple, filled with memorabilia, filled with little relics and things that I ended up just for some odd reason, I held on to them, but I didn't know about them then. So why not share them now? So I'm going to be giving out some really cool stuff, some limited edition items. Definitely for those of you who need things signed that perhaps of mine that you want to put into your collection, because you got to have a Herman Moore thing in your collection. I'm going to be available to be able to do that. And I'm wanting to engage you more on that level. So definitely let's get it ready. We're going to be giving away some really cool stuff. And you just don't want to miss it. It's going to be really, really cool. I'm not going to, again, I'm going to tease you a little bit with it, but some really, really cool stuff that I found that I'm willing to part with.
It is cool. It is cool. I'm not going to say anything. All I know is really cool. And so make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you become a member, just like Will and Sprague just did here. Just became a member to Lions Nation Unite. We really appreciate it, supporting the channel and what we are doing here for the Lions. Lisa's got a question here. #Lions. We have 4 great tight ends on the team. Do you think Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator, will use more 2 tight end sets this year than we did last year?
I don't think they'll tighten down the offense because this offense needs to be more spread. You look at the elusiveness of the running backs. You look at the way this team really functions. Is they can spread out the defense and not make it more compact. They seem to be more effective. Now, the offensive line is one of the best in the NFL. They've continued to add some talent and some young talent to that. But I still see in them just, the one tight end set be primarily what they go with 2 running backs or 3 wide receivers. And then sometimes even going a 4 receiver spread. I wouldn't be surprised. But tight ends will be a vital piece, and it will be an important piece. And you're right, the depth there makes them very, very good and very dangerous.
We were at the draft, or we were at Soaring Eagle Casino for the draft, and one player we've talked about before the draft is Hendon Hooker. Question from Jorge here. Herman Moore's thoughts on Hendon Hooker getting reps during camp, even though he's going to have a redshirt season. Now, he's not going to be the starter. We know that. But what is your thoughts about him getting some sort of reps, if healthy? Hendon Hooker, we both love the guy.
I'll say this. Because of the high praises that were given for Hooker, I believe that they're not expecting him and hoping they don't need to play him. But I'd be very surprised if they don't get him in a position or place him. And it's not about whether the season gets away for the Lions or there's just, nothing to lose type deal. I see if something unfortunately happens to Jared Goff, they're gonna expedite his ability to get in there. Even if they have to go with a different quarterback in the interim, that's going to be someone I think they're going to be looking at to be the heir apparent to what's going to happen. So I think I wouldn't say that it's completely out of the play, but if Jared Goff goes down, I think there's a strong possibility that you start to see him play more. And but he's got to be ready. So I don't think they'll just let it be just a redshirt year and whatever happens.
Tina, if you're on Facebook for Lions Nation Unite, you're good to go from that aspect. You are already signed up. There's different platforms we use. You're on Facebook. You definitely are good to go already. Do you think we really need another wide receiver like most people are hoping? Now, DeAndre Hopkins just signed with the Tennessee Titans. I personally think we're good at the wide receiver position. I like the young guy who we drafted at round 7, Antoine Green. From you, great wide receiver. When you look at the depth at this team, do you think that the Lions should make a move, or do you think we're set right now?
I think we still are missing a piece at the wide receiver position. It depends on the scheme that you run. If you look at the offense that Ben Johnson has run over the years, you can get away with a possession style, closer knit team of receivers that are not stretching the field. You're not taking too many shots down the field. I think with Chark, he was a guy they were looking to kind of take up that mantle and start to become that deep threat. But now when you start looking at Antoine Green and you start looking at how does he contribute, this is a big play guy coming out of North Carolina. 18 yards or his average target that they're trying to get him the ball down the field. So he's used to that big play. I don't think that the Lions can avoid that. If you're going to go with just that possessive style receiving attack and you're just hitting the short passes and you're trying to work your way methodically down the field, that means you have to sustain drives. You have to be pristine. You have to be really, really good at moving the football and avoiding penalties and mistakes and things of that nature, long down and distances. Otherwise, you're going to put predictability on your running backs as well, and you're containing them, even though they're going to be part of the passing attack. But at some point, you got to be able to have a threat downfield. Otherwise, the defense tightens up on you, and you get too many people walking down and compressing the offense. So I would like to see them have a bigger play wide receiver, and I know everyone thinks that they have that already in play. I just don't know if I'm a true believer of it just yet until I see it happening on a regular basis. But you got to have home run threats. You got to have big play receivers.
Gary Kessinger says, Herman, who was the hardest defensive back you've had to face in your career?
Out of just pure arrogance and
I knew it's coming. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
I used to tell people with the exception of my rookie year, I stopped paying attention to defensive backs. I started paying attention to defensive coordinators and schemes. Like, what will they do when I defeat and beat this first guy that they're trying to match me up with? Because that was me deciding and determining how do I win. If I make you adjust your scheme, it's going to be more than just that one player, because you're not going to leave that one player on me and just let me defeat him. So I can't say it. I mean, I never really faced just that one guy. It was always a combination of it seemed like a receiver, a defensive back and a linebacker would always be looking at me as a wide receiver in some type of a combination. So they had the in and out on me. They did the high-low. You did the guy that forces you inside. So, I didn't really pay attention. I knew about the guys. I knew about Dion. I knew about Rod Woodson. You name them. I mean, I knew about Darrell Green. I faced those guys, but it wasn't really that type of a battle.
I knew that was going to happen, and I knew
it was. I know Tony Dungy. I know Ray Rhodes. I know those guys. So I know what kind of schemes they like to run.
For sure. And it wasn't going to be a Green Bay Packer, because you just rolled on them all the time.
Oh, yeah, they were very generous, man. They love for some reason giving up touchdowns.
And that's what it's all about. Keitho just became a member to the channel. Huge shout out to you. We really do appreciate it, supporting the channel. That's what it's all about. This is a great question from Michael Perkins. Will Gibbs be used as receiver more till Williams comes back? I think he's going to be used as a receiver quite a bit. Not even when Williams comes back, he's going to be used as a receiver. I love Jahmyr Gibbs, what he's going to bring this room of offense. What do you think about Jahmyr Gibbs as a receiver?
I think he's going to, I think his final year he had 444 yards receiving. I think he's an elusive guy. When you look at his film, a lot of people are trying to still tackle him at his feet. And then when they go up high and try and tackle him, he gives them the stiff arm. So he shows that he has strength and power, but he also, when you get him open in space, man, I think him on some of those swing passes, some of the screen passes, he's going to be incredible. And I see him probably being guarded more than a linebacker. I don't think a linebacker can handle him one-on-one in the passing game. And I think there is already tough enough for a safety or a defensive back to make one-on-one tackles. So I see him as being a vital piece. I see the running backs continuing to play a very important role in the success of this offensive passing attack. But it doesn't mean that they have to make that become predictable. I think they got to pick and choose how they use that component. But man, Gibbs is going to. Let me tell you this. So I see him as either he's going to be phenomenal, or it's going to be a lot of people scratching their heads. But I just don't, based on the film that I've seen, and they're called highlights for a reason, right? I want everybody to know, when we watch highlight film, I don't care if you're watching my highlight film or you're watching Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, they're called highlight films for a reason, because they show you the best plays. And I can tell you, we've all pick a player, pick anyone. They've had disastrous plays through their career. They've made mistakes at the worst time you can imagine. But we've been able to consistently, those that have kind of worked through it, make it work to where we have good highlights. So we'll see. I'm not worried about his highlights. His highlights look good. I'm worried about what happens that we haven't seen.
For sure. Adam McIntyre just became a member. Huge shout out to you. And Keitho dropped a $20 super chat, says, love the channel, Mike. Doing an amazing job. We truly do appreciate it. Does help out the channel, and it keeps us going. It keeps this thing flowing. We got training camp right around the corner. I'm about to close this. What is important about training camp before we close this thing out for fans to understand from a player perspective?
Based on the way camps are working now, it's different. It's different than when I played. It was about the physical preparedness and preparation. It was about going out and really, you were grinding it out. It was a little bit different. Now I think it's more mental. I think there's more attention being given to staying healthy, but staying physically fit, and mentally getting the plays down and getting the mental reps down. So that's what I'm looking for, to see which players are out competing in the one-on-one drills, but at the same time, how are they coming along with the fundamentals?
Yeah, folks, I appreciate everybody hanging out for this hour. Herm, it's great to have you back. It's going to be an exciting, fun season. I can't wait to go back and forth with you and debate. It's going to be glorious.
I can't wait. I got some things I really want to debate, and people, like I say, you're gonna love me or hate me.
Yeah, hey, you gotta love it. With
But
that said,
I'll love them anyway.
I know. Hey, no matter what, we gonna have fun. With that said, folks, peace.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be fucking sour, take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder. And all the doubters, they're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce.
It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear